are doing Running with the Giants on the campuses right now. They're doing different characters. And so, but today Stephen's going to be doing a character that I think that he's done, but he's ready to do it. And so would y'all give my son a warm welcome?
All right. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I don't like speaking with these things, so I got to get used to it. Anyway, yes, like Dad said, we are starting, well, not starting, we are continuing our series called Running with the Giants. We are actually doing it in Face It, and I had the honor and pleasure of speaking this past week to, I think, what was it, 2 schools. I got to speak at 5 times, so it was interesting. So I should know this stuff by now. So hopefully that's going to happen today as well. But anyway, the title of the series is Running with the Giants. And the first verse that I wanted to read real quick before I explain it is Hebrews 12:1, which says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." So, the reason why I read that verse is because it explains exactly what the series is about. Running with the Giants, what we're basically describing to all of you is that we are on a track, and we're in this race called life. And so, while we're on this track and we're about to run, right, we have a great cloud of witnesses around us, and they're all watching us on this track, and we're running this thing called life, right? But the people in the stand, what's great about them, is they're the people that have already gone before us. They've already made their mark. They've already lived their life, and they've now passed, and now they're in heaven. And so now they're in the stands, and they're cheering us on. And they're wanting to see if we can get through life the way they did. So, the way we like to break it down is that as they're in this race, and they're running, as we're running, right? These people are in the stands, and they're cheering us on, right? And they're saying each and every little thing, "Go, Stephen," you know, whatever it is, right? But each and every one of them has their own thing they're saying to us, their own advice. So if you don't listen clearly, because everybody's speaking at once, it just sounds like, right? But if you were to zone into one of them, they would be saying what it is that they want to say to you in your race. And so today's message, what I want to break down is for when you wonder if your life counts. This is what this message is about. It's for the people who not necessarily they kind of think that they're ghosts, or that they don't stand out. They don't fit in. They're the oddball of the group. I spoke to teenagers, so my stance on it is the nerdy kid. It's the guy or the girl that feels like they're a nerd. They're not necessarily a nerd, but they feel like it. They feel like they're not worthy. They're not valuable. They have nothing to offer to this world. It hits on questions as, you ever wonder if you have a purpose? What's God's plan for my life? Do I matter? Will I ever reach my dreams? Will my life count? And so the giant in the audience today, if he could step out of the stands and explain to each and every one of us his advice for our race, if you're going through these types of things, what is my plan? What is my calling? What is it that I'm called to do in my life, right? The giant that I want to talk to you about today is Elisha. So I'm going to do what I do with the kids and the young adults in Face It. Everybody say Elisha. Elisha. Now listen to the words sha. Everybody say Elisha. Elisha. There's a reason I'm saying this, because there's a guy in the Bible also named Elijah with a J. Everybody say Elijah. Elisha. So you got Ja and you got Sha, right? We're talking about Elisha. So hopefully my mouth will say that. You're not going to be like, who is he talking about right now? Because they're so intertwined. Elisha follows Elijah. So I'm going to be talking about both of them. So just pay attention to the accents on my words. So Elisha is the one that's going to step out of the stands. And the reason why is because he knows exactly what we're going through when we were wondering if our life counts. He was in that same position, that same place. Elisha wondered, what is my purpose? What is my calling? What am I supposed to do? Okay, and so if he could come down the stands, right? He comes out of the stands, he walks in, and we're running our race. He could step onto the track and start running with us. The very first thing that he could say, the very first thing he would say would be, do your best wherever God puts you. Do your best wherever God puts you. Now I'm going to drink a little bit of water. Well, let's get pumped up. But the thing is, he said, do your best wherever God places you. All right? Easy, easy, easy. Nothing crazy. Do your best wherever God puts you. Well, let's take that word wherever, and let's break that down now, okay? So he says, do your best wherever God puts you. He's running, right? You're panting. Okay. All right, okay, do my best wherever God places me, okay. Right? He says, now take down wherever. Now, wherever you are, he says, number one, give your best in obscurity, and God will reward you. He will reward it, right? You might be saying, okay, Stephen, I don't know what obscurity means. That's confusing. What does that mean? That's a big word. Obscurity means the state of being unknown, inconspicuous, or unimportant. When you feel like you have nothing to offer, when you feel like you're not important, when you feel like you're not seen, you don't stand out. I use the reference at school. You might be the son or daughter that's not the most attractive one in the family, or at least you think you're not. You're not the most athletic one. You don't play any sports. All right, so you're that oddball out, right? You don't fit in. You don't play any music. You're not a singer. You're just kind of like there. That's what you feel like. This is what Elijah says. Give your best in obscurity, and God will reward it. When you're unknown, when you're not being seen, right? When you're not in the foreground, you're in the background. He says, give your best in obscurity, and God will reward it. If we look at 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 19, that's in the New Living Translation. It says, so Elijah went and found Elisha, son of, I think this is Shaphat, plowing a field. There were 12 teams of oxen in the field, and Elisha was plowing with the 12th team. Elijah went over to him and threw his cloak across his shoulders and then walked away. Now, I'm just going to say, it's super quiet in here. I'm so used to speaking to face it. The kids are like talking and moving their food and everything, so it's really odd. But here's the thing. I'm going to be myself, okay? I'm not going to speak and all stiff like this. I'm going to be who I am. All right, so Elijah, I'm going to explain. Because if I just read the scripture, you kind of get lost. We have Elijah and we have Elisha. Elijah was this awesome prophet. He had done 14 miracles in his lifetime. The man was a beast. He is the man, all right? He's done 14 miracles, done all these crazy things, right? And one day, God calls him to go and pass the torch down, basically, and rise up another person to do what he's done. And he says, I want you to go to see Elisha. All right, I want you to pass the cloak to him. So Elijah comes strolling into town. All right, he's just walking in. He's done all these miracles, and he's still yet to do some more. And he sees Elisha, plowing the fields, right, with 12 groups. Now, Elisha was, if you look at this, he obviously was part of a wealthy family because they had 12 groups of people with oxen. What he was doing was plowing the field with these oxen. If you have a lot of oxen, you have a lot of cattle, you obviously have a lot of money. You have food to provide for your family, you're able to plow the field, have vegetables and all this kind of stuff, right? You're able to make money. So, Elisha is comfortable. He's got it made. He's a pretty good guy. He has a job, he's doing life, right? And then all of a sudden, Elijah comes in and throws everything out of whack. He comes walking up, and it says that Elijah went over to him and threw his cloak across his shoulders and then walked away. So he literally just took the cloak and he threw it on Elisha and then just took off going. I choose you, you know, and it's like, and he leaves. Elijah's in the middle of working, right? As he's plowing it, right? And all of a sudden the cloak is on him. I know he has to be going, okay, what? What just happened? Okay, what are you doing? This is Elijah. Just threw his cloak on me. It was an honor. The guy who did 14 miracles is choosing me to follow him. What on earth? How? Really? Me, of all people, the guy that's got, that's working with oxen, I'm plowing the fields, you're going to choose me? And it says that Elisha basically dropped what he's doing. He ran over to Elijah and he said, hey, can I go talk to my parents real quick, give them a kiss goodbye, and I'm going to follow you. You've chosen me. And so, if you look at 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 21, it says that Elijah returned to his oxen and slaughtered them. He used the wood for the plow to build a fire to roast their flesh. He passed around the meat to the townspeople, and they all ate. Then he went with Elijah as his assistant. So, the reason why I say this is what happened. Elijah's in the middle of doing his life, right? All of a sudden, Elijah chooses him to follow him, to be his servant. Instead of Elisha, he had a choice. He could have said, no, I'm comfortable with where I'm at. This is what I'm going to do. He said, no, you know what? I'm dropping everything and I'm following this man. I trust him. So he took off. He slaughtered all of his oxen, right? Takes the meat. He feeds the townspeople, everybody in his town. And then he sacrifices, gives everything away, and follows Elijah. So he continues to go. But this is the thing. Elisha followed Elijah for 10 years, doing everything Elijah told him to do. He was a servant. While Elijah was performing all these miracles and doing all these great things, here's Elisha in the background. Okay? Yeah, I'm just a guy following. And so he continues to follow what Elijah's doing. Elijah does all these miracles. He's the one that gets praised, right? He walks in, oh, Elijah's here. Not Elisha's here. It's Elijah's here. Elijah's in the foreground. Elisha is in the background. But Elijah followed him for 10 years and did each and everything that Elijah told him to do. The next point that I want to say, if Elisha could tell you something, he could say, give your best in the small things, and God will give you bigger things to do. It also says in Matthew 6:4, your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So this entire time, right, that Elisha is following him, he's in the background. But that's what he was called to do, be in the background, to serve. God says, if you don't boast, basically, if you do things in secret for me, if you're not, hey, look at me, everybody, look how great I am, I'm amazing. If you do it in secret, I will bless you, I will reward you. So don't boast. You don't have to be up in the foreground. You can be in the background, and I can use you just as much as in the foreground. Right? So, Luke chapter 16, verse 10 says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So, Elisha follows Elijah. Elijah does all these miracles. He's continuing his work. One of the things it says that Elisha was called to do was, it says that he even washed Elijah's hands for him. Now, when I read that, when I heard that, it threw me off. I didn't understand what they were saying. I was like, okay, wait, so you mean to tell me that Elisha went over and washed Elijah's hands? Why? Like, why did he have to do that? It doesn't make any sense. Why couldn't Elijah just wash his hands? So, the way I think of it is that Elijah, I don't think that Elijah was cocky. I don't think that he was like, hey, sir, wash my hands for me, please, because I'm better than you. But it was he just stuck his hands out and Elisha served. That's what he's called to do. He was his servant. What do you do? Wash his hands. Yes, Master. It wasn't like that. It was just, wash his hands. I'm your servant. I'm going to do anything and everything. It was something so small, something so little. Just like the point I said, give your best in the small things, and God will give you something bigger. I know good and well that when Elisha was called to follow Elijah, I know good and well that he knew, eventually God's going to give me something too. I don't think God just told me to give everything away, only to mess me over later on. He's not going to make me do all this work for nothing. I got to wash this man's hands. I'm sure that was a very humbling experience to go and wash somebody else's hands for them when they could do it themselves. But if you look in the New Testament, it was Jesus Christ who got on his hands and knees and washed his disciples' feet.
Amen.
It's crazy stuff, right? Elisha was washing Elijah's hands, something so small, something so minute. It was like, why, of all things, that? But he did it in his best. He did it no matter what, even if it seems stupid, even if it seems so lame, so weird, so small. Why? He did his best in the small things, knowing that God's going to give him something bigger in the long run. The third point that I want to say, and this is when the story gets good, this is my favorite part of the whole message, is give your best in the natural, and God will do the supernatural. Now, in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9 through 10, this is when the story gets good, with Elisha and Elijah. All right, it says, when they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what can I do for you before I am taken from you? All right, and he says, let me inherit a double portion of your spirit. Elisha replied, you have asked a difficult thing, Elijah said. Yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not. Now, I'm going to explain this a little bit more rather than just reading it, okay? So Elijah's been doing all these miracles. He's walking. He's performed 14 miracles, right? And it's come down to the end of his life. It's coming to the home stretch. He's about to go. And Elijah turns around. Now, Elisha has been following him this entire time for 10 years, doing anything and everything that Elijah tells him to do. And all of a sudden, Elijah turns around and says, I think it's so nonchalant. He turns around and he's like, okay, so real quick, before I'm taken from you, what would you like me to do for you? Like, instead of being like, I'm about to die, what's the one last thing you would want? It was like I'm about to be taken, no big deal. What would you like me to do for you? And Elijah looks at him. Now, I don't think, with Elijah, his answer wasn't okay, well, like, I was kind of like following you for like 10 years. And, like, you're pretty cool, I like to be like Dad. I like to be so cool like you. And, like, do miracles and stuff. Like, that'd be cool. But, that's okay if it's not, He didn't do that. No, Elijah said, I want double the portion of what you had. And it wasn't a cocky, arrogant, I'm better than you and I can do better than you. No, it was, I want to do what you did and I want to do it even better.
Yes.
I've been following you for 10 years. Now, the Bible doesn't go into detail of what he said. But I can only imagine that a man who follows somebody for 10 years, does each and everything, does his best for 10 years, had to give up everything to follow this guy who was in the foreground, who was praised, who did 14 miracles. And he followed him the entire time. Washed his hands for him. I got to think that at this very moment, he was like, okay, listen, I've been following you for 10 years and you're about to go. I want to have double what you have. You did 14 miracles and I've been following you this long. I want to be at least do that and more.
Yes, amen.
I should. I've been following you. I've given my best. You see, Elisha did the natural. He asked for it. Something that we find so difficult to do nowadays. Our prayers become so simple. God bless this food. That's about it. God, keep me safe at night. Let me have good dreams. Please stand with me. What kind of prayer is that? That's it? That's all you got? That's all you got to ask God, our Father? No. I want to ask for more. God, give me the job that I'm seeking. Give me the wife I'm looking for. I want to be promoted. I've been demoted. My job's been taken from me. I worked for years, and it was taken from me. I put my blood and sweat into this, and I got fired. I got let go. Instead of being bitter about it, ask for something more. I want that promotion, God. I've worked for you. I've stood up for you. I've done everything for you. Just spit. I've given everything for you. I've done my best. I want double the portion of what you have. He did the natural. God took care of the supernatural. Here's the thing. This is when the story gets good. All right? He asked for it. And what's Elijah say to him? He looks at him and says this. You've asked a very difficult thing. And it wasn't cocky like, I'm better than you. It was just, that's a very difficult thing to ask for. I've done 14 miracles. God's really used me. I've been blessed. But here's the deal. If you see me go, when I am taken from you, if you are there to see it, if you actually see it take place, then it's going to be, your wish is granted. God's going to give you the blessing. Now, this is the thing. Right after that, I was reading it this morning. He literally turns around, starts taking off walking, and all of a sudden, he's chilling, right? He's just walking. All right, yeah, if you watch me go, that's cool. And all of a sudden, a chariot of fire comes down, stops. Hey, get in, Elijah. Elijah steps in and then carries him into the sky. Gone. The Bible says he was in a whirlwind and it just flew him up to the sky and he's gone. No more. Now, I can just imagine Elisha. Hey, what would you like me to do before I'm taken? Well, I want double the portion. Blah, blah. And then, what just happened? Literally. A chariot of fire, horses on fire come down. Pick him up. Stop by. Another year-old goes by. Did I just see that? Did I just see that? Elijah said, if you see it happen, if you see me be taken, then you'll get the blessing. You see, the reason why I said that, Dad was telling me this a couple of days ago. That was a spiritual thing, obviously. A chariot of fire came down and picked up Elijah, a man who did 14 miracles, took him off and just flew off. Anybody could have been there. But only somebody that has been with Jesus, only somebody that's been with God at this place, right? Who's been serving God, to have him in their heart. Anybody that's been with Jesus, they can see this happen. Any other person that doesn't believe, they wouldn't have seen that. It took faith to believe in something like that.
Amen.
So Elijah was basically challenging him. You want double the portion, you better be living it. You better be living for God. Because he ain't going to just give it to anybody. Your heart's got to be right.
That's right.
And obviously his heart was perfect, because the chariot of fire comes out and picks him up and goes by, and he's just like, all right. Man, he really worked on it. Man, that's nice. The cloak passed down to him, He received the double portion. Elisha went on to do 28 miracles. He went from 14, his leader, right, his master, had 14. Elisha did 28. The guy in the background, the nobody, the so-called loser, the guy that nobody notices, he did 28 miracles. The guy that said, man, am I ever going to amount to anything? Did 28 miracles. Not 14, he did 28. Why? Because he had the audacity to ask for it.
Yes.
Amen.
Instead of saying, oh, I don't know, man, I just that'd be cool. No. He said, I want double the portion, man. I want to do what you did and better.
Yes.
John 14, verses 12 through 14 says, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father, and I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it. So, coming to the home stretch. I'm going to round the left, right? We're running. Elisha's just told us a lot of stuff in a matter of moments, right? I'm like, okay, this guy picked up a chair of fire, and then you got the thing. Oh, okay, great. Okay, and now what? So now I'm about to go back into the stands, but I have 3 more things I want to tell you before I go. The first thing he says is, learn how to cultivate God's presence in your life. Now, I could go really deep and get into this too, and it could be a message in itself, but in 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 15, Elisha was asked by 3 kings to perform a miracle. Okay, this is Elisha now. Okay? Elijah is gone. Elisha now has the power. He's the one that's doing these miracles, right? These 3 kings had set out from Judah, Edom, and Israel. They had set out to find this king from Moab who rebelled from them, right? So they're trying to seek and find him. And so they had been seeking for days, and they got kind of caught up. They couldn't find him. And next thing you know, they ran out of water. They had nothing to drink. Their soldiers were tired. They needed something to drink. So they said, okay, listen, we're all going to die out here trying to find him. Obviously, we need water right now. Is there anybody we can call upon? And somebody said, we can call Elisha. He's a prophet. And so they bring up Elisha. Well, they ask him to perform the miracle for him. He says, well, hold up. But now bring me a harpist. Right? 2 Kings 3:15, he says, bring me a harpist. And while the harpist was playing, the hand of the Lord came on Elisha. You see, he made sure real quick, though, when they said, hey, Elisha, we need you to do this miracle. He said, well, hold up, bring me a harp. Can you imagine? We need water. Not a harp. Bring me a harp. Go get him a harp. And so he goes and gets him a harp, but the thing is he needed the harp because he wanted to worship. He wanted to be in God's presence. He was telling them, wait, hold up, I can't do this on my own. This isn't Elisha's miracle. This is God's miracle. He blessed me with this. I need a harp. I need to have worship on, and I need to have the presence of God on me. Then I can do it. Amen. You see, you got to learn how to cultivate God's presence in your life in order to do something, right? You can't just go into your own strength.
That's right. It's good.
I was listening to this message he said to me, and I was, studying, and the pastor that was preaching it, he said, when you're in God's presence, that's when your dreams come. Dreams are birthed in God's presence. So for you all, I'm sure each and every one of you had your own dream. At each stage of life, you have something that you're seeking for. You want to make an impact. You want to have something, right, to live for. Well, your dreams are going to come not out of your own strength, out of your own mind, but when you spend time with God, when you're in His presence, the true dreams come.
Yes.
His dreams are birthed in His presence. Acts chapter 4:13. When they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished, and they took note that these men have been with Jesus. The reason I read this verse is because now we're looking at the New Testament, right? And they call out Peter and John. Now, if you look at it, it says they realized that these were unschooled, ordinary men. But they were astonished, and they took note because why? These men had been with Jesus. Peter and John were ordinary dudes that God used, right? They just walked. They were fishermen, you know. Peter was a fisherman, right? God used them. They were ordinary, unschooled guys. They're nobodies, losers, right? At least that's what people think of them. But it said, but they took note that these men had been with Jesus. That's where it comes in. Because they were in God's presence, because they were with God, they stood out. If you really want to stand out, if you really want to make your mark, you got to be with Jesus. Spend time with Jesus, and then you make your mark. The second point that Elisha would say before he goes is, at some point you have to wake up and do something. All right? Now here's the deal. Each and every one of us have a dream. But it's one thing to dream something. It's one thing to be inspired by something. Man, I would love to be a football player. I'd love to be a famous singer. I would love to be a nurse. I'd love to be a doctor. I'd love to have my own business, right? It's one thing to be inspired, but you see, dreams must go from inspiration to participation. Dreams must go from inspiration to participation. I love that.
Yes.
It's one thing to be inspired by something. Oh, wow, I love you. That's so cool. Man, that's great. That's one thing. It's another thing to actually participate in it. Man, I want to be a great speaker. Well, then I need to get up and start speaking more. I need to actually cultivate that. I need to work with it. I need to be in the Bible more. I want to get up and speak in front of thousands of people. That's my thing. I want to do that. Will I ever? I don't know. If God calls me to do it, awesome. But I want to be planned and I want to be prepared for it. Each and every one of you will have something that you want to do too. You want your marriage to be good. Well, then work at it. Don't say, God, I wish my family would just get along, and then never act upon it. Never try to hang out with your wife and treat her right, or hang out with your husband and treat him right. You can't just expect it to happen on its own. You have to work for it. You might say, well, Stephen, I'm waiting on God. The pastor said, we're waiting on God. No, God's waiting on you. You got to step out of faith and do something. Don't wait for it to be handed to you. God wants you to take a leap of faith. You see, in 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 16, I'm reading the New King James Version. It says, and he said, thus says the Lord, make the valley full of ditches. For thus says the Lord, you shall not see wind or rain, yet this valley will be filled with water. Now the reason I say this is right before that, I just told you, the kings had asked Elisha to do a miracle, right? They said, hey, you need to do this miracle, so bring me a harp. I need to worship. So he worships first, right? Then he turns and says, okay, now here's the deal. You need water. You need something to drink. Well, go and dig these ditches then. Dig these holes. Right out here. What? Why? Dig these ditches. There's no rain. What are you talking about? There's got to be water there. Trust me. There will be water filled. But you got to dig the ditch first. I love the New King James Version because it actually says, make this valley full of ditches. The other versions, they just say there's pools of water. Kind of skip over the whole digging. They didn't participate in the action, right? They just said, hey, God, I need you to do this. No. Okay, well, then here's a shovel. Dig the holes and prepare it, and I will put it there.
Amen.
Those men needed that water. First, they had to participate in actually digging the hole. And then what did God do? He supplied the water. It also says, well, there was no rain, right? So he says, do it anyway. And they did it. And he said, and also, you're going to have water, but you're going to get the king of Moab. He's going to come into your own hands. Which it did happen. You see, God provided a miracle. But at first, they had to wake up and do something. They couldn't just sit back and wait on God. They had to step out of faith and believe He was going to provide for them. Again, dreams must go from inspiration to participation. James 2:17 says, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. It's one thing to believe. Oh man, I believe in that. But then if you have no action, it's dead. So you got to act upon it. The last thing that I want to say before I go is right before Elisha leaves, he says this. Don't base your life, everyone, on the seen, but base it on the unseen. What you see right in front of you might not make sense. I was listening to the message yesterday. He said, just because you don't see a sign, just because you don't see God moving right now, doesn't mean He's not working in the background, behind the scenes. You don't always need it. Here, Stephen, it's right here. Oh, wow, that's great. No, that's not how God works all the time. He wants you to have faith. He wants you to believe. and the unseen. Hebrews 11:1. It's not up here. It's now faith is being sure of what we hope for, and certain of what we don't see. One version says the confidence in what we hope for will actually happen. I love that. There's faith there. We might not see it, but we believe it's going to happen. Right? Have faith in the unseen, not the seen. Dare to dream. 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. We believe in Jesus, we can't see him, right? But we know he's there. I made the joke to students that face it. Just because we don't see air doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? I mean, I can feel it. I can feel Jesus. I can feel the air. I can breathe it, but I don't see it. Well, where's it at, right? It's there, though. I have faith it's there. I can feel it on me, just like I can feel Jesus. Matthew 7:7 says, keep on asking, you will receive. Keep on seeking, you will find. And keep on knocking, the door will be open. Ask God. Do in the natural. God takes care of the supernatural. And so the last thing that I really want to say is I like to share this story, and it's not in my notes or anything. When Elijah got older, right, he did all these miracles. He did 28 miracles, right? Instead of 14, he did 28. One of the miracles that Elisha did that I find so cool is that this one point in his life, right, Elisha actually is long gone and dead. He had been buried in a tomb, right? And they placed him, he's dead now. He's no longer with us. His body is decomposed, it's just bones in a grave. These two men were walking with a body. It was a dead body, and they were going to bury it. And so, as they're walking, all of a sudden, these Moabite raiders had come into the land. And they were coming to raid the area. It was a specific season. They always came. And so the people knew. Well, at this point, these guys are going to bury a body, right? So they're kind of caught in a pickle right now, right? They're like, okay. And they see these raiders coming into town, so they panic. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Right? So they take the body, and the nearest tomb to them was Elisha's. So they're like, and they pitched it in, right? And they go to turn around to run from the raiders, and as they pitched it in, it says the body hit the bones of Elisha, and it came to life. The guy popped up. Now, if you read the story, it's like this big in the Bible. And if you read the Bible like a book, which I have failed so many times doing that, you'll miss it. It's like this much. I was reading it, and then King Hazel, you know, blah, blah, and it keeps going into this thing. I'm like, how do you, like, only give a paragraph to that? Like, this so what was the reaction of the two guys when they threw it in? What did the guy say when he came back to life? Huh? You know, I can only imagine. These guys are coming for us. They throw it in, and he comes alive. Hey, how's it going? What? What's going on? You know, get out of there. You know, and run. Or were they like, oh my gosh, he came alive. I'm going to stay right here. They can't kill me. I mean, if I touch Elisha's bones, I'll just stay alive. So cool. Elisha was used even in death.
Yes.
God used him even in death to provide miracles. Why? Because he had the audacity to ask for it. He asked in the natural, and God took care of the supernatural. He wanted to be used. I'm closing with this. I'm serious. I am landing the plane. All right, it's coming. The thing is, Elisha was in the background his whole life. He gave up everything. He had it made. His family was wealthy, but he was called to follow, to be in the background, not the foreground. He followed Elijah for 10 years, watched Elijah be in the foreground, do all these great things, constantly wondering, am I ever going to make an impact? Am I ever going to be used? Will I do something, or is it only going to be Elijah? Why am I walking behind this guy? This guy's amazing. He did 14 miracles. Am I ever going to do that? Right? But the thing is Elisha did his best in obscurity, right? And he was rewarded for it. He did his best with the small things, and God gave him something bigger. He did his best in the natural, and God did the supernatural. You see, he learned to cultivate God's presence in his life, right? That's how he is. He woke up one day and he said, man, that's it, I'm going to do something about it. I'm asking for my double portion. Right? I love that about Elisha. The last thing is he based his life on the unseen rather than the seen. What he saw in front of him was this awesome guy in front of him. I'm never going to get past him. I'm never going to outshine that guy. No. Future says I am. I believe I'm going to. Because I'm going to do my best wherever God places me. The very first thing is the most important thing that Elisha tells us. That's why I said it first. Do your best wherever God places you. So I close with this. Wherever you are in life, good or bad, God says do your best. At your job, in your life, in your family, right? With your kids. Don't give up on your kids. Do your best. Keep fighting for them. Keep showing the example. Keep living a life for them. In your job, if you've lost a job, if you've been fired, if you've been demoted, don't be bitter. Don't be upset. Don't give a half-butt job. Okay? Don't just kind of, oh, I'm just going to kind of get on by with it. Instead, do your best wherever God places you. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm not going to just kind of do it just to get it through. I'm not going to really try because my job was taken from me. Why should I? No, do your best because let me tell you something. God's watching what you do in the obscure times. He wants to see what you're doing when you're not being in the main focus. Amen. Because if you want to do something, if you want to be in the foreground, you got to be willing to do something in the background. Right? Do the small things first, then God gives you something bigger. Yes. Yes. Can I get a yeah? Yeah. God, bow your heads and I'm going to pray. Dear God, I thank you for each and every person in here, Lord. I pray, God, for each and every one of their lives, or whatever they're going through, Lord. If they've ever felt like they don't amount to anything, they have no value, no worth, Lord, I pray, God, that you let them know that they do have value, that they do have worth. God, let them know that they do their best in anything and everything, God, that you're going to reward them. Lord, even in the obscure times, God, that you will reward them if they do their best, God, if they do their best with the small things you've handed them. God, the little things, God, you're going to give them something bigger in the future. God, I pray, God, that they just are willing to ask of you, God, in the natural, Lord, that you'll take care of the supernatural. Lord, help them to learn to cultivate your presence in their life. Use them, God. Let them spend time with you in worship and in prayer, God. I pray, God, that at some point, Lord, that they're going to wake up and eventually say, you know what, I'm going to do something with my life. Instead of just waiting for it to happen, I'm going to do something, and I'm going to trust in God. And lastly, Lord, let them know to not base their life on the seen, but to base it on the unseen. In Jesus' name I pray, and everybody said, Amen.
Awesome. Wow. Man, that was good, huh? Really good. Stephen, awesome.